Hello everyone, good night. It's Tessa-Marie. Tonight, Thursday night, it's the pillar of spiritual prosperity. So welcome to this 7 p.m. Tessa-Marie show. And here we go. So, spiritual prosperity. When you think of it, most people associate it with a religion. Most of us associate spiritual prosperity with something that is more organized than it normally is. One day we had a talk about when do you pray, and somebody asked me what is the difference between prayer and religion. We answered that in there. But tonight we're talking about spiritual prosperity. Spiritual prosperity is one of the 5 pillars of prosperity. Spiritual health is really important, and it does not mean that you belong to a particular religion or that you belong to a particular group that worships in a particular way. The spiritual thing about life is that it's within you. It's something that is completely inside of you. Spirituality is really personal to each human being. A spiritual person can live a life that is outside of religion and completely happy, completely fulfilled, completely believing that they have a place in the world to perform. They might believe in afterlife. They might have a tie to a religion, but not follow it completely. They might choose religion a la carte. A spiritual person really, I found, from my own observation, is that a spiritual being usually has had an affiliation, whether it was from childhood and it was taught, and that is what they believed in, and that's what they got. So that person was brought up in a certain religion, a certain belief, a certain doctrine, certain dogmas, and as they grew up, they realized and they became adult, they started thinking for themselves outside of the dogma and the habits and the tradition of that particular religion. Sometimes that happens when somebody is actually very young. Most religions tell you that you have reached the age of reason at the age of 7. And some people are so far advanced than others that at the age of 7, they start questioning things and saying, why is it always men who are leaders of churches? Why aren't there women? And it goes on. So when that little seed is planted, that disturbance, that observation, that can be really, really, really hard. That can be hard. So spirituality starts from the root. If we go back to Christian religion, before Christianity came over 2,000 years ago, AD, the person that they said that was head of the Christian religion, Jesus Christ, he belonged to another group. He was raised and he had to go to Jerusalem. He was considered Jewish, or whether it's a religion or it's a race, this is still debatable. But he created his religion. One of love, one of respect. And if you listen to his Beatitudes, he talks about the different things that a spiritual person will tell you. So it's not religion that makes you spiritual. It's what you feel inside of you. It's the connection to something you know that is inside of you, outside of you, and also greater than you. And the sweet spot happens when that person gets so in tune that they can touch that wonderful spot inside of them. They get that connection to the heart valve. They got connection to the very essence of life itself. No heartbeat, no life. No heartbeat. You just hear the line goes on the thing at the hospital, the machine, and it's a constant one line, one sound. There is no down, there is no up, there is no down. So a spiritual being is somebody that is aware of what is going on around them. Spiritual beings, as I said, do not belong to a particular religion. They have been raised, most often, raised in a strong dogmatic religion, one that everything is the rule and the thing. And they take religion from that point when they step out of the rituals of that particular religion. They start practicing religion a la carte. They start picking and choosing what they would like on their menu. They will start picking what they would believe is better. They will start observing the attitudes of others. They will choose how and when they should show up, if they show up. So what happens with a spiritual being is that they develop a high sense of self, a high sense that I am unique. I do not have to follow the herd. They get out of the herd mentality and they go seeking for what makes them complete, what makes them stop to wonder. That's what a spiritual being does. A spiritual being never stays with the herd. Jesus didn't stay with the herd. He created his Christian religion with certain rules and compassion and love and caring and tolerance and non-respecter of persons. He made the blind and see. Spiritual. He cared about the sick. He healed them. He touched them. He used lessons. He used parables. He said to you that 10 men were healed. And out of the 10, only one came back to say thank you. Obviously, for him to mention that amongst all the miracles he performed, according to the great books, it must have a meaning. Thankfulness and turning back after you've received help must be something we have to practice. Because he took that one miracle, one parable, one lesson, and he ran with it. And he said, of all the 10, one came back to say thank you. Just one. He did not say that one was special. He just let you know that one came back. And he said that was the one that got healed, but there were 9 others that I healed that day. When he healed, he didn't say pay me. He showed his spirituality. He didn't say pay me. He said pick up your bed and walk. He took dirt and put over the man's eye with spit and he could see. He didn't ask for sandals or clothes or shoes. And he spent a lot of time in contemplation and meditation. So what does that tell us? That tells us if we want to be a spiritual being with love and compassion and respect for others, we need to spend time in contemplation. We need to do with ourselves what he did with himself. He went away and he stayed 40 days in the desert? They said he was tempted. Of course, can you imagine sitting silently in contemplation for 40 days? They said he was God's son. But yet when he was crucified, he showed his humanity. He said, take this chalice away from me. I've had enough. I cannot bear this anymore. That's what he said. And he was a spiritual being, that we know for sure. Because he taught us how to treat others. But most importantly, he taught us how to treat ourselves. He said, love your neighbor as you do yourself. So he said it's okay to love yourself and love to cherish yourself. So a spiritual being has to fill their cup before they fill your cup and my cup. Because it's only from filling their cup they know what it is like to have an empty cup. And that's what a spiritual being does. They fill their cup. And when they fill their cup, they have the information and the direction to tell you how to do it, how to help yourself. And he is the example. And of course, there are other great leaders in religion, like all of them, all over the place. They had faith. They followed certain rules, but they did not follow all the rules. Religion a la carte. They took religion a little piece here and a little piece there and a little piece everywhere and created their own spiritual being. But there is one thing in common with all great spiritual leaders. I never said if all great religious leaders. The Dalai Lama, he's a spiritual leader. You know, Gandhi, a spiritual leader. Non-violence. Nelson Mandela, spiritual leader. Martin Luther King, non-violence. They had faith, they had belief, and they knew they had more than they wanted more, and they could get more if they did certain things. They sacrificed themselves for the benefit of others. And still we did not learn lessons from, and there were many, many, many great men that did that, and women. Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc, we all know about her. So when you think and you stop and you think about the spirituality, do not confuse it with religion. Take a little bit from this religion, a little bit from this, and make it your own. Because the connection you will receive has to come from within you. You have to seek. You have to feel peace. Spiritual being has to have time of silence, times of contemplation, times of hope, a lot of faith, strong belief that they are special in the eyes of the Lord or the God, and so are you. They do not judge. They do not force you. They do not abuse you. They let you be the kind of person you are, and they say, let go, be and let them be. Be and let them be. So when you look at a spiritual being, don't expect them to be holier than you. They will make mistakes. They will step on toes. But the magic of it all, they will turn back and say, I am sorry. Just like the leper amongst the 10, the one that came back and said, thank you for healing me of leprosy. The one that jumped in jubilation and said, I was healed by him. He didn't stop to say, I was just healed. He said, who healed me? And these are the things that you have to understand. To be spiritual, it's an internal thing. That doesn't forbid you from taking some bits from religion that suits you. As I said, religion should be followed a la carte. For a spiritual being, it's always a la carte. A little bit of this here, a little bit of that, a little cup of that, 2 tablespoons of this. It's like making a cake. That's what a spiritual being does. They mix and match small portions of things to come together, to give them the life they seek, to give them the feeling they desire, to help them live that spiritual life. Think of it. It is tied to the 5 pillars of prosperity. Your spiritual life is intrinsically tied to the 5 pillars of prosperity. If spirituality your spiritual life is off balance, what will it affect? Last night we talked about your mental ability. It will affect your mental ability. It will take away your hope. It will take away your faith, your belief. It will take away your joy. Your emotion will go. It will take away your physical need to do the right things for yourself. You start ignoring and neglecting your body. So you see, those 5 pillars cannot stand individually. Neither can your 5 fingers stand individually. They look like they are. They're different heights. They're different sizes. In the same hand, you have the hand you use the most. They're stronger, they're thicker. The thumb stands by itself, but like I said, you need it all to complete the whole thing of prosperity. So when you are seeking for spiritual health, spiritual prosperity, seek within. Learn from the great leaders Sit in contemplation. Learn from the great teachers. Sit in contemplation. Sit alone. Counsel with self. Touch the heart. Look for the heartbeat day in and day out. Spiritual people spend time in meditation. Meditation does not mean you have to sit in the position of a yogi. If you can, that is amazing and that is good. And if you started practicing it early, you'll be 200 years and you'll still be sitting like a yogi. And if you can do that, you should be so joyful and so grateful that you can. So, meditation though, is finding the most comfortable spot that you can find. The most comfortable position you can find for that moment in time you're choosing to go within, so you can come out on the other side a more fulfilled and a more contented and happy person. So what is your position of choice? If someone is forcing you to sit in a yogi position and your knees are touching your nose, then you know something is wrong there. So you know what you do? You pick up your mat and you leave. You go somewhere you can sit underneath a tree in a park, with a mat, without a mat, legs right forward, legs knee up, hands on the knees, on the chin, and go into contemplation. You can sit in a chair, put a throw over you, put something over you, and go into yourself to find yourself. When you come out of this meditation, each time you come out of meditation, you are a brand new person. You see things differently. That's why spiritual beings seek retreat. That's why this man went for 40 days in a desert. They didn't say what he ate. I think they mentioned somewhere he ate locusts. They never talked about water, but he went for 40 nights and 40 days and sat searching. He was looking for the real essence of his being. And we need to do that sometimes. We need to give ourselves some peace. In this world that is spinning on its axle and going so fast, and now that it is opening and people are flying left, right, and center, we need the peace that surpasses all understanding even more than when we were in the full throes of the pandemic. Because we were restricted, some of us are going to come out and we're going to come out and don't think. And when we do that, that's when we meet danger. So before we take all that time, we need to relax into that spiritual spot. Find it. Take a little bit of time and sit and realize, what is a spiritual being? How does a spiritual being feel? What do they experience when they're spiritual? Are they thirsty more than you? Are they never hungry? Just being and finding their self within themselves takes away hunger and thirst. What is it? What do they crave more? Is it food or finding themselves and their stillness and their soul? What is it? So you see, being spiritual has nothing to do with being religious or belonging to a sect or a group, following a dogma of some kind. You can do all of that and still find an opening for yourself. So this is what a spiritual being does. They relax into themselves. They observe with closed eyes. And sometimes they observe with open eyes that don't see anything but sees everything. When you get to that sweet spot, I don't know if you've ever experienced connecting to your heart. It actually is the most pleasant experience you can find. And in all your seeking for any meaning to life, seek finding that quiet moment within you. Just seek for that quiet moment when you can lower your heartbeat. Bring your heartbeat so low that you almost feel that you have entered your heart. You, that whole entire being, has entered that heart. And that's what a spiritual being does. You connect with yourself. That doesn't mean if you cannot do it, you're not spiritual. But that's the ultimate for some. For you, your spiritual feelings might come by serving others, helping others, by teaching somebody, by encouraging, by inspiring someone. But all of that will only come to you if you're able to find that quiet moment, that peaceful moment, that moment where you just sit there and you stop thinking of anything outside of your heartbeat. And when you come out, you might find out, oh yeah, I should do this, or I should not do this, or I should sit longer. But you will be different. There is one day you're going to come out and you will know, I have hit it. I am different. I have a purpose. I have a goal. And you will feel it. There's one day you're going to get it. And that's why people go away for retreats. They're trying to claim it again. You hear the person say, I'm going for a retreat for 3 days. Some people go and they do not understand the sweat lodge, where the indigenous people practice smoking and they sweat lodge and connecting. What do you think happens in there? That's a spiritual exercise. They're looking for a connection to something greater than them. And that's why people go for a retreat, or they go on a pilgrimage. They go to Fatima, they go to Luz, they go to Metagogy, they go to St. Joseph's Oratory in Montreal, they go to the Canadian Matters in Ontario. And there are millions of other shrines. They go to Jerusalem and they try to walk in the footsteps of Jesus. They go to in Nazareth and try to find where he was born. They go to find out where Muhammad come from. They go to find where these great teachers, they want to walk in their footsteps. When you go to India, you see the footsteps of Gandhi before he was shot, and you can follow them. You can set your foot in them. Why did they do this? Because people want to experience what he experienced, to make them to see if they can feel what he felt. We are all searching for a meaning to life. We are all searching for that wonderful experience, and that's what spiritual life is all about. It's not just praying. We say thank you. When you get all this amazing help, you say thank you. I'm so grateful I connected with you. I love you. You make me joyful. You add to my life. That's what a spiritual person does. They turn back and say, thank you. I'm so grateful I know you. Thanks for helping me. I appreciate your presence here today. This is what we all do. But all of that comes in various degrees. So this is what I wanted to bring you tonight, to find out a little bit more about the spiritual. And spiritual prosperity, without it, we are like a door that has one hinge and the other hinge is loose, and you know how difficult it is to put that door and make it stay shut. You know how much work it takes when one of the screws in the hinge is loose and you're trying to close that door. And if that spiritual connection is loose, you think the other 4 pillars are not going to wonder what is going on. Because guess what? They have to pick up the slack.